came here to run. Pyongyang, capital city of North Korea. One of the world's most secretive states. A nation governed by the Juche ideal of self-reliance. Guided by a military-first policy that puts the armed forces before the society. And led by a family of men who are revered as gods. Most people have very strong opinions about North Korea, but very few have had the chance to visit the place. Not me. I'm here in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. We've been invited by the DPRK's government to witness their efforts to open up the Hermit Kingdom to tourism. It's an invitation extended to very few journalists. And it's subject to strict conditions. I'm here to try and understand what life is like in one of the most inaccessible places on Earth. And one of the most surreal places I've ever visited. A city where mass ballroom dance-offs appear to be a daily occurrence. A place where the dividing line between civilian and military life is paper thin. But above all, it's a place that knows how to put on a show. On my journey, I'll be given a hero's welcome as I take part in the Pyongyang Marathon. The immaculately dressed people of Pyongyang are clapping us and waving at us. I'll visit the front line of a decades-long war where soldiers face off against what they call the South Korean puppet regime of the imperialist US aggressors. And I'll test my marksmanship against a record set by Korea's leader, Marshal Kim Jong-un. To navigate North Korea's capital, a guide is essential. Fortunately, the government has provided me with two. Ong and Lee will be keeping a close eye on our kaleidoscopic 3-day journey through the sights and sounds of North Korea.
A military parade took place with grandeur in presence of Marshal Kim Jong-un.
Life on the Korean peninsula can be tense. Pyongyang has been on a permanent war footing for as long as most people can remember. Ballistic missile tests have been on the rise. But as important as testing their weapons is parading them. Here, symbolism is everything. And President Kim Il-sung, who died in 1994, leader Kim Jong-il, who died in 2011, and Supreme Leader Marshal Kim Jong-un are everywhere. From the moment we arrived in Pyongyang, we found young North Koreans practicing coordinated moves in preparation for the forthcoming Workers' Party Congress. In the public squares of Pyongyang, it seems life revolves around practicing for the next big event. At home and abroad, North Korea wants you to know that it is independent, ultra-confident, self-reliant, and not afraid of war. As a foreigner in North Korea, don't steal stuff, follow the itinerary, and respect the sacred sites. Make sure you bow when instructed to. The Grand Monument of Mansu Hill, I don't think I've seen anything like this before. Known to Koreans as sacred place. They come here, they pay their respects, they lay flowers, they bow. Tourists are here as well. You go up close, you look at these immense bronze statues. The detailing on these statues is just impeccable. It's so good, the workmanship, the craftsmanship so good, that many African countries, like Senegal, Namibia, Angola, have asked the Koreans for some help. Traveling North Korean artists have taken their craft abroad, from Cambodia to Senegal. In an age of international isolation, exporting workers provides access to a rare commodity here, foreign currency. It's Korea's overseas activities that help fund Pyongyang's grand boulevards and monuments, as well as a subway system that puts many Western capitals to shame. The Pyongyang metro is grand and spacious, lined with immaculate murals and statues of, well, you know who. It's also deep underground, doubling up as a nuclear bunker. I told my minders their subway was far nicer than New York or London. They didn't seem surprised. Things are better here. Why wouldn't they be?
People of Pyongyang from all walks of life, military, working men and women, grandmas, kids after school, just going about their daily business. And I keep thinking, what are they thinking? Where are they going to? What's next on their agenda for the day? And look at this epic setting. Soviet-style metro stations. I'm just in awe. I'm in absolute awe.
As night fell over Pyongyang, we got our first chance to talk about the day's experiences unsupervised. So this is the first time I'm on camera without the watchful gaze of our two minders and sometimes others. They make sure that everything we film is with their blessing, everything we say has their approval. Anything I say on camera is recorded by them. We're not allowed to interview people from North Korea. When we talk to people or interact with people, that's recorded as well. And we can't leave the hotel. The only thing to do was to surrender to the omnipresence and omnipotence of the state. Because everything you see as a visitor is what you're supposed to see. The course is set and the parameters controlled, like a science experiment. And North Koreans are proud of their science. They even have a national center for it in Pyongyang. But no, you can't film inside. I wish I could show you what I've just seen. Behind me, this massive building, most of the buildings here are massive, is this huge sphere. It's designed like a cell. It's got multiple levels, computers everywhere, all sorts of science exhibitions. The centerpiece or the showpiece is this massive carrier rocket. And there's also an amphitheater with a globe in the middle held up by a coil with a special seat set aside for Marshal Jong-un for when he visits. We came in the morning, so none of the hundreds of students, children, professors were here. The building's very new, smells very new. They'll be coming in the afternoon. Apparently in the afternoon, everything happens here. This is clearly a complex designed to impress. But were our hosts, in trying to impress us, implicitly admitting that communication, accessibility, interconnectivity are good things, to be coveted and celebrated? Suspicious of the world, the hermit kingdom walls itself in, but proud of its achievements, it builds monuments that reach for the skies. I thought North Korea would be one place where I'd finally feel tall, but the statues and monuments here are enough to dwarf anyone. Piercing the Pyongyang skyline and standing nearly 200 meters tall, this is the Juche Tower, the ultimate expression of North Korean beliefs. At the base of this mammoth Juche Tower is a poem dedicated to Kim Il-sung for his 70th birthday in 1982. The fifth stanza of this poem reads, "Man is the master of everything, and he decides everything, and decides his own destiny," which emphasizes the Juche need and emphasis on complete and absolute self-reliance. Self-reliance is a source of much pride here, and pride is at the heart of North Korea's ideology. Pride of race, pride of nation, perpetual reliving of past injustices by foreign aggressors, be it Japan or the United States, hatred for their southern neighbors who are deemed brothers in blood, but not in politics. It's a holy place in a country with no religion, endlessly glorifying a leader who taught his people that man, not God, controls his destiny. Supreme self-reliance in need of a supreme leader. They say history is written by the winners, and in Pyongyang, the history of the Korean War is all around you. The conflict killed nearly 1 million soldiers and more than 2 million civilians on both sides. The North soldiers were helped by China and Russia, and the South by the United States and the British Commonwealth. In 1953, the guns fell silent, and an armistice was signed. But peace has proven elusive. The pattern of sabre rattling is familiar. North Korea tests a ballistic missile, which it says it can arm with nuclear weapons. The US and South Korea conduct military drills in response. North Korea deems them provocations, and the cycle repeats. I'm on a tour of the victorious Fatherland Liberation War Museum in Pyongyang, a vast complex to document the DPRK's victories against what they call the US imperialists and the puppet regime of South Korea. There's an impressive collection of guns and vehicles captured from the American forces. And pride of place is given to a small ship, which symbolizes one of the most important moments in North Korea's history. The moment when America said sorry and admitted it was wrong. I'm looking at ID cards of crew members of the USS Pueblo, which was captured by the DPRK in 1968. The Americans initially said that it was a research vessel. It looked like a research vessel. Later on, they admitted that it was actually a spy vessel, and that the sailors on board were actually conducting espionage. One of them died during the altercation of the capture, and the 80, afterwards, more than 80, were released after just under a year after the United States formally apologized to the North Koreans. They're very proud of this moment. They keep the USS Pueblo here in Pyongyang as a museum to, as they say, remember the imperialist aggression of the United States.
The Pueblo, a witness of history and trophy, will testify century after century the crimes of aggression committed by the U.S. imperialists against the Korean people.
It's easy to make fun of the rhetoric, But Korea's history has been one of subjugation and exploitation. Before the Second World War, Korea was under Japanese occupation, a period not remembered fondly here. Korean history and culture were marginalized. Forced labor and conscription to the Japanese army was common. North Koreans hark back to the Koryo Empire, a dynasty that ruled the Korean peninsula 1,000 years ago, and where the word Korea comes from. They dream that one day the peninsula will be reunified under the North's terms and begin a new golden age. This ancient palace was home to kings of the Koryo dynasty. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's here I meet Mike, a retired American stockbroker and UNESCO ambassador. He can't quite explain what he's doing in North Korea, but he knew he had to come.
The Koryo people were inscribed in 2013. Their heritage, their cultural heritage, UNESCO anointed them with World Heritage, justifiably so. What we learned about the history is that the term hermit kingdom is not just a matter of, let's say, 5 decades old. It's more like 500 years old, half a millennium. And that is because here, the Koryo people wanted to be protected and isolated from the Chinese and the Japanese at that time. So it was interesting that their culture, all these centuries later, is really still the same.
Yeah, and it helps you understand just how disruptive that Japanese invasion and occupation was, doesn't it?
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen, indeed it does.
My next stop is Pyongyang's latest tourist attraction, the shooting range. In a militarized society, being a good marksman helps. I've never shot a gun before, but I was keen to test my skills against North Korea's finest shooters. And it seems the country's top marksman is none other than Supreme Leader Marshal Kim Jong-un.
So these two marks, Marshal Kim Jong-un did he come to this? He came to this place. Yeah, so he came over here. He hit the bullseye with 2 bullets.
No, he shot 2 bullets.
Oh, 2 bullets?
2 bullets. Kind of, what do you call it?
Ricocheted.
Yeah, ricochet.
Oh,
from the
so
inside.
So he hit the bullseye and it ricocheted from the inside. Right here. I'm not sure about the physics of it all. I'll have to figure this out. It's sort of magic bullet theory, grassy knolls and all. But yeah, that's what happened at this very place. I'm gonna try and get the exact number.
Sadly, on the evidence of my target shooting, I'd better not give up the day job.
Way off. Okay, just a warm up. Off. I'm terrible. Okay, let's try again. My eyes are terrible. I need my glasses. Down. Okay, I suck. This is very embarrassing. Terrible eyesight. No, I've missed all of them. Oh, what a shame. I'm clearly nowhere near the league of Marshal Kim Jong-un. I just don't have it in my blood. Can I learn it?
Yes, of course.
I can learn it?
Yeah.
It's said that if you want peace, you must prepare for war. But I wondered what effect it must have on you to be constantly preparing for war for as long as you can remember. As night fell, I risked asking my guides what they thought.
You know what Einstein said? I don't know what weapons World War III will be fought with, but I know World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. Because won't war destroy all of our civilization with nuclear weapons?
Pyongyang Marathon Day. The one day of the year when foreign visitors are a normal sight on the streets of North Korea's capital. The race has only been open to foreign amateur runners since 2014, and this year the turnout is bigger than ever. More than 1,000 foreigners are taking part. The race begins at the brand new Mayday Stadium. And it's packed.
Now that is a well-dressed crowd.
My peak running form is well behind me, so I've chosen to do the 10K run. But the real joy of the race is interacting with the crowds of people who line the route. I decided to do my bit for international relations with some high-five diplomacy. The weather conditions are perfect, the roads are good, and the course is flat. So I thought I'd be able to put in a decent time. But with all the distractions along the way, it looks like I may have been mistaken.
Oh wow. I think I've just been lapped. That's humiliating.
In the end, I finished the race in a shade over an hour. Just behind the oldest runner in the pack, our old friend Mike.
Absolutely terrific. The crowds are magnificent. And a great flat course for an old guy like me.
In the professional competition, a runner from the DPRK finished first, to the delight of the crowd. But Mike and I agreed, it's not the winning, it's the taking part that counts.
You know, we have 1,600 runners this year. There was 800 last year. What will it be in 5 years? I think you're going to see tremendous growth and opportunity. You know, the Korean government, of course, needs foreign currency, and one way to do it is tourism.
More than anything else, this race encapsulates the paradox at the heart of North Korea today. Here, authorities welcomed with open arms their biggest ever cohort of runners. At the same time as threatening Washington and Seoul, and preparing to launch a missile in violation of international treaties. While in the Hermit Kingdom, I'd seen more and learned more than I could ever have hoped for. But in some ways, I felt further away from understanding it than ever. It was time to take a trip to the front line of the conflict between North and South Korea. The 2-hour drive along the reunification highway is a chance to see the countryside and get a sense of the rhythms of life outside Pyongyang. We saw farmers marshalling the oxen that plowed the fields, hints of the pre-modern, but too little to make a judgment on the state of North Korean agriculture. The Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ, one of the world's most dangerous borders.
There's enough firepower on both sides of the border to cause apocalyptic war, and it's a reminder of how unresolved everything is here. And the tension among the soldiers and everybody else is palpable. There's a different feeling compared to Pyongyang and running the marathon here.
I came to North Korea with many questions, and I left with many more. I met real people who loved their country with a devotion I'd never seen before. Unwavering enthusiasm or brainwashed humiliation, I can't be sure. Maybe it's both. And what does the future hold for this enigmatic nation? With the perpetual tensions and isolation, they still let us in. They let me run. They let us, journalists, film, however restricted. The Hermit Kingdom gave us a little peek inside. Why? Is this an orchestrated agenda to provide cover? Or is it some small signal to the world, in some small way, that after all these years, they're almost ready to open up?